today's episode, we have Rammers and a four-way battle for the race win. But before we get into any of that, you guys already know what this is. This is my Road to Glory series, where we have begun a journey from the bottom of B to try and get to the top of A+. If you've not watched some of the episodes in this series already, I will go ahead and link those in the description or in a card up top. And this week, we're at Watkins Glen. I love this track. I've got way more knowledge of this track compared to the last few that we've been racing on, so I was really excited for this race, and we were back in GR4. This was my driver score before the set of races that you're about to see. There might be a slight decrease compared to the last episode because I did do a few more races of Spa in my own time and it didn't go very well. So we had ground to make up. And I do kind of want to use these videos as a platform to get better. So if you actually have any advice on things I'm doing, areas to improve, please do let me know in the comments. I am actively listening. So I started off the stream in the F-Type. It seemed like the meta at the time. It was quite early on the day. It was a bank holiday Monday. Oh, let's go! Let's go! And things actually started pretty well. To be honest, throughout the entirety of the stream, we were qualifying pretty high. But there was two problems. The first one, repeat after me class, consistency. But then also, weirdly enough, for the first time in this series, we had quite a lot of ramming. Yeah, I know, obviously that wasn't ramming, but I wanted to keep that clip in because I thought it was quite funny in retrospect. But we did get a lot of it, and it was really, really pissing me off throughout the entirety of this stream. Oh, mate. Oh, why? That was dirty. That was the dirtiest thing I've ever seen in my whole entire life. I'll tell you what, watching it back from his perspective, it doesn't even make it any better. You're going to see as he goes into this corner, he literally thinks about it. Like, he brakes so early, you know, gives me the space. He thinks about it, and then boom, there's contact. Like, oh, this happens so many times in this session, honestly. Oh, come on, P12 is ours. Ah, no, couldn't get round him. Oh. You can have that. You can have that. It's all yours, mate. No, it's not mine. Have it, mate. Have it, have it. I don't know, did I get it? I don't know. I tried to give it back to him, but he didn't have it. He didn't want it. Oh, you didn't want it. I tried to give it back because I tapped him on the back, but yeah, a P12 to start proceedings off, not exactly the best, but we went straight back into another race. We qualified pretty well in a P2, so again, a podium was here to be had. Well, we qualified well until this happened. Mate, what the hell? I don't want you. You're trying to unleash the beast. I'm trying to refrain him. My driver rating was, you know, being thrown down the stairs. We had a decent battle with this guy in the McLaren, but honestly at this point in the race, my tyres were absolutely gone. I think at this point I knew the F-Type was definitely like not the car to use. So subsequently in the next race we changed it to the Supra, which was also awful on its tyres. Obviously now we know the quali meta and the race meta are different, so if you are going to do this race, it's recommended to use like a 4C, which is really good on its tyres. We came home in a P10, so a decent recovery from where we were, but a far cry from what we really want to do. We want to be making improvements to our driver rating, not decreasing. Race 3 also started pretty well. We qualified P2 in the race, and we had a few good scraps in this race as well. Let's go! Let's go! But unfortunately, all that battling came to bite me in the ass when I didn't change my tyres at the pit stop. And then towards the end of the race, there was absolutely no saving me. Again, I just had absolutely no tyres, and all that battling, I'd used all of the wear in my tyres. So there was not really much I could do against this guy. I had to let him pass, which meant I ended up in a P6. I want to be able to... no, get back on the road, get back on the road. Yep, again, that pretty much sums up this race. I had the pace to win. As you can see, I had the fastest lap, and I was literally putting on purple sector after purple sector after purple sector. Thankfully, few cars up ahead had 3-second penalties for crossing the pit entry line. You definitely want to practice this one. It's a bit of a difficult one because sometimes it can jolt you out to the left if you're not anticipating it. But thankfully, after all the pit stops and after everyone had served their penalties, we came through in a P4. That was an absolute send, that was. That was such a send. I had to back out though. So yeah, we're just going to quickly cover these last 2 races as one big clip. Not much happened outside of this. He kept tapping me on my rear. He kept tapping me on my rear. And to be honest, I didn't really know he was going to go for the lunge. I was a bit apprehensive that he may do, but he did. He went for the lunge. He had no right to go for that move and basically spanned me out. Honestly, why do people do that? Why do people do that? He was literally nowhere near. It looks even worse on the replay. It looks like he's almost aiming for me. Keep in mind, you can basically go up to the barrier on the right on Watkins Glen. Very, very strange maneuvers. TikTok and YouTube Shorts seem to think I was at blame there. I'm not having any of it. That was not my fault. Oh, he's gone on to Inters. What has he done? Oh, that was the leader that came on to Inters. Oh, that is terrible for him. But even with the leader coming in on Inters, a P6 was the best we could do. Honestly, I think that was a pretty decent recovery race considering we got span out. And then in this final race, before we get to the feature race of this episode, you can see I just got really unlucky through the bus stop again. Contact, I went wide. I even got a penalty for that. And it was just a recovery race at that point. You can see I'm getting tapped all over. I've got damage. Things are not looking good in this race. And the French dude even came back. And he did the exact same thing. Look at this. He whacks me out. Tries to whack me off the road. So I thought I'd give him a little bit of argy-bargy back. Not my finest moment for sure, but you know, in the heat of the moment, you know, what can you do? These B lobbies sometimes can be absolutely A's. It changes when you get into the higher echelons of B, but when you're in mid B and low B, honestly, it's what you have to do. It's actually, unfortunately, what you have to do. I spent the first 2 hours of this stream being span out because I wasn't defending strongly enough. And then thankfully this guy got a penalty and he wasn't really a problem for the rest of the race. We ended up getting a P3, a quite tightly contested P3 may I add as well. We had the Bugatti driver in front of us in a P2, but our tyres just couldn't hang on with the no tyre change strategy. But a decent DR haul nevertheless. We're still looking for that elusive win. So let's go ahead and get straight into the feature race of this episode. This one is an absolute hood classic. So here we go. As we go to light out, you can see we've qualified really well in P1. As we go into turn 1 with the Supra, we can see we actually managed to avoid all of the shenanigans. Honestly, it's music to my ears. This race was a really, really difficult one. As you can see, dipping a wheel onto the grass. And Mr. Hairy Nuts, pause, rubbing all at my inside, excuse me. And again, you can see how closely packed we are already as a threesome. But yeah, anyway, the one thing I was pretty concerned about in this race was the tyre wear. We were going to have to basically stop for new tyres, and you can see all this battling is definitely not going to be doing any good for my tyres. Places were swapping and changing quite a lot in this first lap. But things did eventually settle down as we managed to get a gap. Not much of a gap though, keep in mind. Maybe like, you know, half a second basically on the guy behind me. And it was just about managing the race, managing the tyres. I needed enough life in these tyres to get me through. At this point in the race, I was definitely thinking we're probably going to need new tyres. I was pretty much on the limit trying to keep him behind. Again, I'm not the fastest racer. Keep in mind, I'm still not as good as I was when I had a controller. So still a lot of work to be done. As we skip ahead here to lap 4, you can see Pocket Rocket going for the move down the inside. That is how you make a move down the inside. Again, I was not going to battle him there. No point. I need to savor my tires, everything I can get out of these tires. And you can see I'm right on his bumper. I clearly have the pace. But I also didn't want to force the issue per se. I've made many mistakes in this stream where I just basically threw the race away for no reason. And I was pretty much certain that I was going to come in on this lap. So I didn't want to do anything silly. It would have been nice to do the move on the track, but to my surprise, he also comes in the pits. I guess not that surprising if he's in the Supra. I assumed that he may go ahead and take new tires, and it seems like that's exactly what he does. And as you can imagine, it's flat out now for the last 4 laps of this race. We've got brand new medium tires. I try to send it on the inside. We're side by side as we enter this last sector, and I try to go ahead and get the move done. Dive down the inside. The elbows are a little bit out, I won't lie. But it had to be done. It was now or never. I had the pace. Perfect timing as well, because we're net P1 after the pit stops. It's me and Mr. Hairy Nuts leading the race as we skip to lap 7. And you can see the grid has bunched up. We've got the Megane now into the race. And I lose my place after getting a bit squirrely into turn 1. And the race really starts to heat up in these final last few laps. It's a balls to the wall 4-way battle to the lead. You can see the Megane creeping forward as Mr. Hairy Nuts is properly trying to block the whole track. I'm not sure whether that was the most wise decision for him in the long run, as we are 3 wide going into this corner. Oh, even watching this back now, it gives me anxiety looking at all those cars going through that section of the track. Still 3 wide, but you know, any sensible person would back out there. There's no point keeping it in, so I just back off, and the mistakes start to creep in. Too deep, too deep. They're still battling. It's still all to play for, boys. I'm not worried. I am not worried. It's still all to play for, and these lot are having a proper ding-dong battle at the front right now. Now I'm watching the replay back, I'm realizing how close 5th and 6th are. If you go and, you know, dip a tire onto the grass, they could easily go ahead and pounce. So it's all still to play for as we are coming into the final lap. You can see here, go for the move on Mr. Hairy Nut, squeeze him out, and that is P3. It is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. So the pressure's really mounting up as we're going through the bus stop chicane here. You can see the NSX actually gets all out of sorts, and he actually gets a track limit penalty. Unfortunate. That means once he's served it, we're going to get an automatic P2, surely. Tried to get the move done around the outside, but there was just simply not enough space. So we wait for him to serve his penalty. We are through to a P2. You can see the Megane, it's kind of starting to clear away now with that superior tire life compared to the Supras. I'm not quite sure how well the NSX is on its tires, but it's still all to play for us. We're coming through to the last few corners of this race. I've still got plenty of life in these fresh mediums, kind of holding onto the back of the Megane, hoping there's a problem. Car's getting a little bit squirrely here. Maybe it's a little bit of nerves as well, as we are still battling for this P2 with 3 cars back to back to back going into the final corner. Oh no! He got through the gap. He got through the gap. P3. That was an absolutely unbelievable move. He definitely deserved that P2 just based off that move alone. Unfortunate we didn't get the P2. I was a little bit gutted, I'm not going to lie. But the most important thing is, how has this race impacted our driver rating? So as you can see, for the first time, we have actually made a sizable chunk on our driver score. I think we're slowly making our way out of the trenches of B, and we're going to be soon looking at the top of B and the bottom of A. So make sure to go ahead and join us next Monday. That's when we'll be live again. So just keep an eye on my YouTube channel and your subscription box. Go ahead and hit the bell, hit the like, all that shit. And I will see you guys in the next one. So yeah, stay safe and peace.